Crash landing. The starship Horizon shuddered violently as it plunged through the atmosphere of Zephyria, an uncharted planet on the outer rim of the Andromeda Galaxy. Captain Aria Chen gripped the controls, her knuckles white with effort as she fought to keep the ship from breaking apart. "Come on, you bucket of bolts," she muttered through gritted teeth. "Just a little further." Warning klaxons blared throughout the cockpit, red lights flashing ominously. The ship's AI, EVN, spoke in its characteristic calm tone, completely at odds with their dire situation. "Hull integrity at 47% and falling, Captain. Recommend immediate evacuation." Aria's eyes darted to the status readouts. The rest of her crew had already jettisoned in escape pods, leaving her alone to pilot the dying vessel. She had stayed behind to ensure everyone else got out safely, and now she was paying the price. "Not yet, EVN," she growled. "We need to clear the ionosphere. The pods won't survive if they hit it at terminal velocity." The ship groaned in protest as Aria pushed it to its limits. Outside the viewscreen, the swirling purple clouds of Zephyria's upper atmosphere gave way to a landscape of undulating silver grasslands and towering crystal formations. "Altitude 10,000 meters and falling rapidly," EVN reported. "Hull integrity critical. Captain, you must." The A's voice cut off abruptly as a massive tremor rocked the ship. Aria's head slammed against the headrest, and she tasted blood. The horizon was coming apart around her. With the last of her strength, Aria punched the eject button. The cockpit separated from the rest of the ship with a thunderous boom. As she hurtled towards the alien landscape below, Aria caught a final glimpse of the horizon disintegrating in a brilliant fireball. The landing was rough. Despite the cockpit's emergency thrusters and crash webbing, Aria felt like she'd gone 10 rounds with a Jovian heavyweight. Every inch of her body ached, and her vision swam as she fought to stay conscious. Forcing herself to focus, Aria ran a quick self-assessment. Nothing felt broken, but she'd have an impressive collection of bruises to show for her ordeal. The cockpit had come to rest at an angle, its canopy cracked but intact. Through the spider web of fractures, Aria could make out a grove of strange, iridescent trees nearby. "EVN," she called out, her voice hoarse. "Status report." Silence greeted her. The eye was offline, likely damaged beyond repair in the crash. Aria was on her own. With a groan, she released the crash harness and pulled herself up. The cockpit door was jammed, but a few well-placed kicks forced it open. As Aria stumbled out onto alien soil for the first time, the full impact of her situation hit her. She was stranded on an unknown world, separated from her crew, with no way to call for help. The Horizon's distress beacon would lead rescuers to the main crash site, but that was who knew how far away. Her best bet was to find her crew and hole up until help arrived. Aria checked her gear. Her exosuit was intact, its systems reporting optimal life support and atmospheric filtering. The suit's built-in compass spun wildly, useless on this alien world. Her sidearm was still holstered at her hip, and her emergency pack contained basic survival supplies. It would have to do. As Aria took stock of her surroundings, a flicker of movement caught her eye. Something was watching her from the edge of the iridescent forest. She froze, hand instinctively moving to her weapon. "Hello," she called out, trying to keep her voice steady. "I mean you no harm. I'm a visitor to your world, and I need help." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, with a grace that seemed almost supernatural, a figure emerged from the tree line. Aria's breath caught in her throat. The being before her was humanoid, but unmistakably alien. It stood nearly 7 feet tall, with skin that shimmered like polished opal. 4 arms extended from its torso, each ending in long, delicate fingers. But it was the creature's eyes that truly captivated Aria. Multifaceted like an insect's, they reflected the light in a dazzling array of colors. "Welcome, Skyfallen," the alien said, its voice a melodious trill that seemed to bypass Aria's ears and resonate directly in her mind. I am Zinixar, Warden of the Crystal Groves. Your arrival has been foretold. Arya blinked, struggling to process what she was hearing. Foretold? I don't understand. My ship crashed. It was an accident. Zinixar's head tilted to one side, an oddly bird-like gesture. There are no accidents in the tapestry of fate, Skyfallen. You are here because you are meant to be here. Come, there is much to discuss, and it is not safe to linger in the open. As if to emphasize the alien's point, a distant roar echoed across the silver plains. Something large and likely unfriendly was out there. Arya hesitated for only a moment before nodding. Lead the way, she said, falling into step behind Zinixar as they entered the crystal forest. The alien moved with fluid grace, barely disturbing the delicate undergrowth. Arya, in contrast, felt like a bull in a china shop. Every step crunched and crackled, the crystalline plants chiming softly as she brushed past them. Your people, Arya ventured as they walked. Are they peaceful? I have crew members out there somewhere. They won't be harmed, will they? Zinix's outer eyes swiveled to regard her, while the inner pair remained fixed on their path. We are a peaceful people, yes, but we are not the only inhabitants of Zephyria. There are others, less welcoming to outsiders. Your companions will be found and brought to safety if they have not already encountered the Harvesters. A chill ran down Arya's spine. Harvesters. All will be explained in due time, Skyfallen. For now, we must reach the sanctuary of the Crystal Spire. There, you will meet the elders and learn of the great purpose that has brought you to our world. As they delved deeper into the forest, the crystal trees grew larger and more complex. Their branches intertwined overhead, forming a canopy that diffracted the alien sunlight into a breathtaking array of colors. Despite her predicament, Arya couldn't help but marvel at the beauty surrounding her. Suddenly, Zinixar halted, raising all four arms in a gesture of warning. Be still, the alien whispered. We are not alone. Arya froze, her hand once again moving to her weapon. For several tense heartbeats, the forest was utterly silent. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, something burst from the underbrush. It was a nightmare made flesh. A creature the size of a small car, with a body like polished obsidian and far too many legs. Its head was a mass of writhing tendrils surrounding a gaping maw, lined with crystalline teeth. Harvester! Zinixar cried out, pushing Arya behind its tall form. Run, Skyfallen, I will hold it off. But Arya stood her ground. She hadn't survived the crash and come this far to abandon the first friendly face she'd encountered. In one smooth motion, she drew her plasma pistol and took aim. The Harvester charged, its many legs propelling it forward with terrifying speed. Arya squeezed the trigger, and a bolt of superheated plasma streaked through the air. It struck the creature dead center, blasting a smoldering hole through its carapace. The Harvester shrieked, a sound like nails on a chalkboard amplified 1,000-fold. It thrashed wildly, crystals shattering around it, before collapsing in a heap of twitching limbs. Silence fell once more. Arya lowered her weapon, her heart pounding. She turned to find Zinixar staring at her with all four eyes wide in what she assumed was the alien equivalent of shock. You slew the Harvester, Zinixar said, all evident in its mental voice. Never in all our history has one fallen to a single blow. Arya holstered her pistol, trying to appear more confident than she felt. Where I come from, we believe in being prepared. Now, about that sanctuary you mentioned. Zinixar nodded, a ripple of color passing across its opalescent skin. Yes, of course. Come, Skyfallen. It seems the prophecies spoke true. You are indeed the one who will change everything. As they resumed their journey, leaving the fallen Harvester behind, Arya's mind raced. Prophecies? Great purpose. Just what had she gotten herself into? The crystal spire loomed ahead, a towering structure that seemed to defy the laws of physics. As they approached its base, Arya steeled herself for whatever revelations awaited her within. One thing was certain, Our mission had just become far more complicated than a simple planetary survey. Little did she know, the true tests of her courage, ingenuity, and humanity were only just. The Nectar's allure. The crystal spire stretched impossibly high into the alien sky, its faceted surfaces refracting the light of Zephyria's twin suns. As Aria followed Zynixa through its translucent doors, she felt as though she was entering a living gemstone. Inside, the air hummed with energy. Aria's skin tingled, and she could taste something sweet and electric on her tongue. All around them, more of Zynixia's kind moved with fluid grace, their opalescent bodies shimmering as they went about incomprehensible tasks. "Welcome to the heart of our civilization, Skyfallen," Zynixa said, gesturing with two of its 4 arms. "Here, the elders will reveal your purpose and the true nature of our world." They ascended a spiraling ramp, passing chambers filled with pulsing crystals and strange machinery that seemed to blur the line between technology and organic life. Finally, they reached a vast circular chamber near the spire's apex. 5 beings, similar to Zynixa but larger and more luminous, stood in a semicircle around a central dais. As Aria approached, she felt the weight of their ancient gazes upon her. "Greetings, Aria Chen of Earth," the central elder spoke, its mental voice resonating with power. "We have long awaited your arrival." Aria straightened, squaring her shoulders. "How do you know my name? And what's this about awaiting my arrival? I'm here by accident, my ship crashed." The elders exchanged glances, a ripple of color passing between them in silent communication. "There are no accidents in the grand design of the universe," another elder said. "You are here because you must be here. The fate of 2 worlds hangs in the balance." Before Aria could demand more explanations, the central dais began to glow. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a 3-dimensional map of Zephyria. "Our world is dying," the first elder continued. "For millennia, we have sustained ourselves and our civilization through the nectar, the lifeblood of Zephyria itself. But now, the wells run dry, and the harvesters grow desperate and bold." The hologram zoomed in, showing vast underground caverns filled with glowing, root-like structures. The nectar is produced by the planet's core, filtered through these crystalline structures. It sustains us, empowers us, connects us to the very essence of our world. But as it fades, so too does our ability to hold back the harvesters, creatures mutated by overexposure to the nectar's raw form. Aria frowned, trying to process the information. "I'm sorry for your plight, but I don't understand. What does this have to do with me, with Earth?" The second elder stepped forward. "You represent hope, Aria Chen. Your people possess knowledge and technology that could help us synthesize the nectar, to create it anew and save our world. In exchange, we offer you a gift beyond price, a substance that could revolutionize your civilization." With a gesture, the elder summoned a small, ornate vial filled with a softly glowing opalescent liquid. "Behold, the refined nectar of Zephyria. A single drop can heal grievous wounds, enhance cognitive function, and extend life itself. Imagine what it could do for your people." Aria's scientific curiosity warred with her caution. "May I?" she asked, reaching for the vial. The elder placed it in her hand. The moment Aria's fingers closed around the cool crystal, she felt a jolt of energy race up her arm. The aches and bruises from her crash landing faded instantly. "This is incredible," she breathed. "But surely there must be side effects. Nothing this powerful comes without a price." A shadow seemed to pass over the elders' faces. "You are perceptive, Aria Chen. Yes, there are risks. The nectar is not to be used lightly. In its raw form or with overexposure, it can twist body and mind. This is the fate that befell the harvesters and some of our own kind who sought to commune too deeply with Zephyria's core." Aria's grip on the vial tightened. "And you want to give this to humanity? Do you have any idea how dangerous that could be in the wrong hands?" The third elder spoke, its mental voice tinged with sadness. We do not offer this gift lightly, but we have foreseen that only through cooperation between our peoples can both our worlds be saved. The choice, ultimately, will be yours." Before Arya could respond, an alarm sounded throughout the spire. The holographic display flickered, showing a mass of dark shapes converging on their location. "Harvesters," Zinxar cried. A full swarm, headed for the city. The elders moved with surprising speed, their bodies glowing with power. "We must defend the spire," the first elder declared. "Zinxar, take Arya to the sanctuary. Keep her safe at all costs." As Zinxar led her from the chamber, Arya caught a glimpse of the elders channeling pure energy, preparing for battle. Her mind raced with questions and implications. The fate of two worlds, they had said, but at what cost? Zinxar guided her through twisting corridors, deeper into the heart of the spire. They passed chambers, filled with bubbling vats of nectar and rooms, where crystalline machinery hummed with barely contained power. "Here," Zinxar said at last, ushering her into a small, circular room. "You will be safe. The sanctuary's defenses are impenetrable." As the door sealed behind them, the walls came to life with holographic displays, showing the battle raging outside. Arya watched in awe as the Zephyrians unleashed devastating energy attacks against the swarming harvesters. But for every creature they felled, two more seemed to take its place. "There are so many," Arya murmured. "How long can your people hold out?" Zinxar's colors dimmed, a sign Arya was learning to associate with distress. "Not long enough. Our power wanes with each passing day as the nectar grows scarce. Soon, we will be overwhelmed." Arya's hand went to the vial of nectar she still carried. She stared at the gently glowing liquid, feeling its latent power. "What would happen," she asked slowly, "if I were to drink this?" Zinxar's eyes widened. "The effects on a human are unknown. It could grant you tremendous power, healing, and insight, or it could twist you, as it did the harvesters. The risk is too great." But Arya's mind was already made up. She had come to Zephyria to explore, to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Now, fate had thrust her into a position where she might make a real difference, not just for humanity, but for an entire alien civilization. "Sometimes," she said, meeting Zinxar's multifaceted gaze, "we have to take risks for the greater good." Before the alien could stop her, Arya uncorked the vial and drank deeply of the nectar. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, liquid fire raced through her veins. Arya gasped, falling to her knees as every nerve in her body sang with newfound energy. Her vision blurred, then sharpened to impossible clarity. She could see the individual motes of dust in the air, hear the crystalline song of the spire itself. Colors she had no name for exploded across her consciousness. In that moment, Arya felt connected to everything: the spire, the planet, the very fabric of space-time itself. As the initial rush faded, Arya stood, marveling at the power coursing through her. She felt stronger, faster, more alive than she ever had before. But there was something else, a yearning, a thirst for more that scratched at the edges of her mind. "Remarkable," Zinxar breathed, its mental voice filled with awe. "You have done what no outsider has ever achieved. You have become one with the nectar." Arya flexed her fingers, watching arcs of energy dance between them. "I understand now," she said, her voice resonating with newfound power. "I can see the connections, a flow of energy. I think I can help." She turned to the holographic displays, studying the battle with enhanced perception. Patterns emerged, weaknesses in the harvester swarm became apparent. With a thought, Arya interfaced directly with the spire systems, relaying tactical information to the defenders. The tide of battle began to turn. Guided by Arya's insights, the Zephyrians pressed their advantage. Harvesters fell by the dozens, then hundreds. Finally, the swarm broke, retreating into the wilderness. As the last harvester disappeared from the displays, Arya sagged, the adrenaline wearing off. The power of the nectar still thronged through her, but now she could feel the price of its use, a bone-deep weariness and that persistent, gnawing thirst for more. Zinxa steadied her with two of its arms. "You have saved us, Arya Chen, but at what cost to yourself?" Arya managed a weak smile. "I'm fine, just tired and thirsty, so very thirsty." As Zinxa led her from the sanctuary, Arya's mind raced with the implications of what she had done. She had tasted the power of the nectar, experienced its incredible potential firsthand, but she had also felt its addictive pull, the danger lurking beneath its allure. The elders were waiting for them, their faces a mix of gratitude and concern. "You have proven yourself a true ally," the first elder said, "but the path you have chosen is fraught with peril. The nectar has changed you, Arya Chen. The question now is, how will you change it and the fate of our worlds in return?" As Arya looked out over the recovering city, she knew that her greatest challenges and choices still lay ahead. The nectar's power coursed through her veins, a double-edged sword that could either save two worlds or lead to their mutual destruction. With determination in her eyes, Arya faced the elders. "I'm ready," she said. "Show me everything. Together, we're going to find a way to save both our peoples, no matter the cost." Uncovering the truth, days blurred into weeks as Arya immersed herself in the study of the nectar and Zephyrian technology. The crystal spire became her laboratory, her mind enhanced by the nectar's power as she pored over ancient texts and complex formulas. But with each passing day, the thirst grew stronger. Arya found herself constantly fighting the urge to drink more nectar, to lose herself in its intoxicating embrace. She understood now why the elders had been so hesitant to share it with humanity. In the wrong hands, it could be devastating. One morning, as Arya was examining a particularly complex crystal matrix, Zinxa entered her lab. The alien's colors were muted, a sign of distress that Arya had learned to recognize. "What's wrong?" she asked, setting aside her work. Zinxa's inner eyes blinked rapidly. "It's your crew, Arya. We found them." Arya's heart leaped. In the chaos of recent events, she had almost forgotten about her fellow explorers. "Are they all right? Where are they?" "They are, alive," Zinxa said carefully. "But I fear they have fallen into the hands of the Shadowed Ones." "Shadowed Ones?" Arya frowned. "You've never mentioned them before." Zinxa's colors rippled with shame. "There is much we have not told you, Arya. The elders believed it was for your own protection, but I can no longer stand by in silence. Come with me. There is something you must see." Intrigued and wary, Arya followed Zinxa deep into the lower levels of the spire. They passed through heavily guarded checkpoints, descending into areas Arya had never been allowed to access before. Finally, they reached a vast, dimly lit chamber. As Arya's eyes adjusted, she gasped. The room was filled with stasis pods, each containing a sleeping Zephyrian, but these weren't like the ones she had met. Their bodies were twisted, malformed, as if caught between Zephyrian and Harvester. "What is this place?" Arya whispered, horror and fascination warring within her. "The Chamber of Atonement," Zinxa replied sullenly. "These are the victims of our hubris, those who sought to push the limits of the nectar's power, the Shadowed Ones." Zinxa approached one of the pods, placing a hand on its surface. "Long ago, a group of our scientists believed they could enhance the nectar's effects to evolve our species beyond its current limits. Their experiments did not go as planned." The alien's mental voice filled with sorrow. The enhanced nectar warped their bodies and minds. They became something other, caught between consciousness and instinct. We managed to subdue most of them, keeping them here in stasis. But some escaped, forming a rogue faction that seeks to continue their work by any means necessary. Arya's mind reeled with the implications. "And you think they have my crew? Why?" The Shadowed Ones believe that introducing new genetic material, specifically DNA from other sentient species, might be the key to stabilizing their transformation. Your crew members are the first off-worlders they've managed to capture. Anger flared within Arya, momentarily overpowering the ever-present thirst for nectar. You knew this was a possibility, and you didn't tell me. We have to rescue them. Zinix's colors pulsed with agreement. Yes, we must, but it will be dangerous. The Shattered Ones lair deep in the crystal wastes, where the raw nectar bubbles to the surface. Few who enter ever return. Arya's jaw set with determination. I don't care. They're my responsibility. I'm going after them. As they made their way back to the upper levels to prepare for the rescue mission, Arya's enhanced mind was working overtime. There were too many secrets, too many convenient omissions in what the elders had told her. She thought back to her first taste of the nectar, the incredible rush of power and knowledge. But now, with the benefit of hindsight and a growing understanding of Zephyrian biology, she began to see the experience in a new light. The nectar wasn't just a superfuel or a miracle drug. It was alive in its own way. The more she drank, the more it changed her, attuning her body and mind to Zephyria itself. Was this how the harvesters had been created? How the Shattered Ones had been twisted? As they entered the Spire's armory, Arya voiced the question that had been nagging at her for weeks. Zinxa, what really happens when the nectar runs out? You said your civilization would fall, but it's more than that, isn't it? Zinxa hesitated, then nodded slowly. You are as perceptive as ever, Arya. The truth is, without the nectar, we die. Our bodies have become so attuned to it over millennia that we can no longer survive without it. As the wells run dry, our people are slowly fading away. The pieces clicked into place in Arya's mind. That's why you were so eager for my help. You're not just looking for a way to synthesize the nectar. You need a way to free yourselves from dependence on it. Yes, Zinxa admitted, but it is not just for our sake. The nectar is Zephyria, and Zephyria is the nectar. As it fades, the planet itself is dying. If we cannot find a solution, this entire world will become like the crystal wastes, a barren, twisted landscape where only harvesters roam. Arya absorbed this information as she strapped on a sleek exosuit, marveling at how perfectly it interfaced with her nectar-enhanced senses. All right, she said at last. Let's go save my crew. And then we're going to have a long talk with the elders about honesty and full disclosure. Their small rescue party set out as Zephyria's twin suns dipped below the horizon. Arya, Zinxa, and a handful of elite Zephyrian guards made their way across the silver plains towards the ominous expanse of the crystal wastes. As they traveled, Arya felt the pull of the nectar growing stronger. Her body craved it, singing with the need for another dose. But she resisted, focusing instead on the mission ahead and the mysteries still to be unraveled. The landscape changed gradually, the soft silver grasses giving way to jagged crystal formations. The air grew thick with an electric charge, and Arya's skin tingled with latent energy. We're getting close, Zinxa warned. The Shattered One's lair should be just beyond that ridge. Be on your guard. The raw nectar has strange effects on the local flora and fauna. As if on cue, a crystalline flower burst from the ground at Arya's feet. It unfurled rapidly, its petals razor-sharp and glowing with inner light. Arya leaped back just as the flower snapped shut, its petals gnashing together like teeth. Charming, Arya muttered. Any other surprises I should know about? Before Zinxa could respond, a bone-chilling howl split the air. Over the ridge came a pack of creatures that defied description, part crystal, part flesh, all predator. Their eyes glowed with the telltale opalescence of the nectar. Nectar wolves, one of the guards whispered in terror. We must flee. But Arya stood her ground, feeling the power of the nectar surge within her. She raised her hands, channeling energy through the exosuit. With a thought, she released a pulse of concentrated force that shattered the leading nectar walls into glittering shards. The rest of the pack hesitated, confused by this display of power from a being that was neither Zephyrian nor harvester. Arya pressed her advantage, her voice ringing out with authority. Leave, she commanded, pushing the thought outward with all her mental strength. This territory is not yours." To her amazement, the nectar wolves whimpered and retreated, slinking back over the ridge and out of sight. Zinxa and the guards stared at her in awe. "How did you do that?" Zinxa asked. Arya shook her head, equally stunned. "I'm not entirely sure. It just felt right. Like the nectar was working through me, communicating with them somehow." She turned to face her companions, her expression grave. "I think I'm starting to understand why the elders were so hesitant to share the nectar with humanity. This power, it's not just a tool or a resource. It's alive in its own way, and it's changing me more than I realized." Zinix's colors rippled with concern. "Are you having second thoughts about the mission?" Arya squared her shoulders, pushing aside her doubts. "No, my crew needs me, and I'm going to see this through. But when we get back, we need to rethink everything. The nectar, the harvesters, the shadowed ones, it's all connected. And I have a feeling that the solution to saving Zephyria isn't going to be as simple as synthesizing more nectar." With renewed determination, Arya led the group towards the shadowed one's lair. As they crested the ridge, a bizarre sight greeted them. A vast crater stretched before them, its center filled with a bubbling lake of raw nectar. Twisted crystal spires rose from the liquid, forming a grotesque parody of the majestic structures in the Zephyrian city. And there, at the heart of it all, Arya saw the unmistakable forms of her crew members, suspended in glowing containment fields. The final confrontation was at hand. As Arya prepared to face the Shadowed Ones and rescue her team, she knew that the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. Whatever happened next would change everything for Zephyria, for Earth, and for Arya herself. Resistance and rebellion. Arya's heart raced as she surveyed the bizarre landscape before her. The bubbling lake of raw nectar pulsed with an otherworldly light, its surface rippling with barely contained power. Her crew members hung suspended in their containment fields, unconscious but alive. There, Zinxa whispered, pointing to a cluster of crystal formations near the lake's edge, the entrance to the Shadowed One's lair. As if on cue, figures began to emerge from the crystalline structures. They moved with an unsettling fluidity, their bodies a grotesque fusion of Zephyrian grace and harvester monstrosity. Arya could see the madness in their multifaceted eyes, glowing with the raw power of unrefined nectar. "Interlopers," one of the Shadowed Ones called out, its voice a discordant mix of mental projection and guttural growls. "You dare trespass in our sanctuary." Arya stepped forward, drawing on the nectar's power within her to project an aura of authority. "I am Arya Chen of Earth. You have taken my people. Release them, and we'll leave in peace." The lead Shadowed One tilted its misshapen head, studying Arya with unsettling intensity. "Fascinating. You reek of nectar, yet you are not of Zephyria. Perhaps you are the key we have been seeking." Before Arya could respond, the Shadowed One lunged forward with impossible speed. She barely had time to raise her hands in defense before it was upon her. But instead of attacking, it pressed its malformed hands to her temples. Arya's world exploded into chaos. Images and sensations flooded her mind. The birth of Zephyria, the rise of its civilization, the discovery of the nectar. She saw the Shadowed One's experiments, their desperate attempts to transcend their physical forms, and beneath it all, a pulsing, alien consciousness that could only be the nectar itself. With a gasp, Arya broke free of the connection. She staggered back, her mind reeling from the onslaught of information. The Shadowed One regarded her with a mixture of awe and hunger. "You are the bridge," it said, its mental voice tinged with excitement. "The missing link between our kind and the true potential of the nectar. Join us, Arya Chen. Help us complete our transformation." Zinxa moved to Arya's side, its colors flashing with alarm. "Do not listen to them, Arya. The Shadowed Ones are lost to madness. They will destroy everything in their quest for power." But Arya wasn't listening to either of them. Her enhanced mind was racing, processing the flood of new information. Suddenly, everything clicked into place. "You're all wrong," she said, her voice ringing with certainty. "The nectar, the planet, the harvesters, it's all part of a larger system. You're not meant to transcend your forms or synthesize more nectar. You're meant to restore balance." She turned to address both her allies and the shattered ones. "The nectar isn't just a resource to be consumed. It's the lifeblood of Zephyria, part of a complex ecosystem. The harvesters, the crystal flora and fauna, they're all part of the planet's immune system, trying to restore equilibrium." The lead shattered one hissed, its form rippling with agitation. "Lies. The nectar is power, and we will claim it all." It lunged for Arya again, but this time she was ready. Drawing on her newfound understanding and the nectar's power within her, Arya reached out with her mind. She connected not just with the shattered one, but with the very essence of Zephyria itself. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The shattered one froze, its body convulsing as Arya's influence washed over it. The other shattered ones stumbled back, clutching their heads in confusion. Arya's voice echoed across the crater, resonating with the power of the planet itself. "Enough. This conflict ends now. The nectar is not yours to claim or control. It belongs to Zephyria, and Zephyria belongs to it." As she spoke, the lake of raw nectar began to churn. Tendrils of glowing liquid rose into the air, weaving intricate patterns. The containment fields holding Arya's crew flickered and failed, depositing the unconscious humans gently on the crystal-strewn ground. Zinxa and the other Zephyrians watched in awe as Arya, glowing with power, rose into the air. She hovered above the lake, arms outstretched, as the nectar flowed around and through her. "I understand now," Arya said, her voice echoing with otherworldly resonance. "The nectar isn't just a substance. It's alive, it's sentient, and it's been trying to communicate with you for millennia." Images flashed through the minds of all present, the history of Zephyria, the true nature of the nectar, the delicate balance that had been disrupted. Arya served as a conduit, translating the alien concepts into something the Zephyrians and Shattered Ones could understand. "Your civilization grew too quickly, consumed too much," Arya explained. "The harvesters, the crystal life forms, they're all part of Zephyria's attempts to slow the consumption, to restore balance. And you," she turned to the Shattered Ones, "your transformation is part of that process too. You're meant to be caretakers, not conquerors." The lead Shattered One fell to its knees, its form rippling as understanding washed over it. We did not know. We thought we were ascending, but we were only falling further from grace." Arya descended, the glow of power fading as she touched the ground. She approached the Shattered One, placing a hand on its misshapen shoulder. "It's not too late. We can work together to heal Zephyria, to restore the balance. But it will require sacrifice from all of us." Zinxa stepped forward, its colors pulsing with a mix of hope and trepidation. "What must we do, Arya?" Arya took a deep breath, knowing that her next words would change the course of two civilizations forever. "We need to wean your cells off the nectar, allow Zephyria's systems to recover. It won't be easy. Your bodies have become dependent on it. But it's the only way to ensure the survival of your people and your planet." She turned to the Shattered Ones. "And you must use your connection to the raw nectar to help guide the restoration process. Your transformed bodies are uniquely suited to interfacing with Zephyria's core systems." For a moment, silence reigned over the crater. Then, slowly, both Zephyrians and Shattered Ones began to nod in agreement. The weight of millennia of misunderstanding and conflict lifted, replaced by a shared purpose. As the two factions began to tentatively work together to revive Arya's crew and plan their return to the Crystal Spire, Arya felt a profound sense of accomplishment. She had come to Zephyria seeking knowledge and discovery. Instead, she had found a way to save an entire world. But as she watched her crew members slowly regain consciousness, a new worry gnawed at her. How would Earth react to what she had discovered? The power of the nectar, the existence of alien life, it could revolutionize human civilization or tear it apart. Arya knew that her greatest challenge still lay ahead. She would have to find a way to bridge the gap between two worlds, to foster understanding and cooperation rather than conflict and exploitation. As she helped her groggy crew members to their feet, Arya steeled herself for the difficult conversations and decisions to come. The fate of two worlds now rested on her shoulders, and Arya was determined to see it through. The journey of discovery had only just begun. The Great Escape. As the twin suns of Zephyria dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the crystalline landscape, Arya knew they were running out of time. The uneasy alliance between the Zephyrians, Shadowed Ones, and her own crew was fragile at best. They needed to act fast if they were to have any hope of implementing their plan to save the planet and escape the crystal wastes. "We need to move," Arya announced, her voice carrying the weight of command. "The harvesters will be more active at night, and we're all vulnerable out here." Captain Rodriguez, Arya's second-in-command and one of the rescued crew members, stepped forward. His face was haggard, but his eyes burned with determination. "What's the plan, Chen?" "Last thing I remember, we were being ambushed by those things." He gestured warily at the Shadowed Ones. Arya took a deep breath. "It's complicated, sir, but the short version is, we're going to save this planet and hopefully change the course of two civilizations in the process." As succinctly as she could, Arya explained the true nature of the Nectar, the delicate balance of Zephyria's ecosystem, and the need for cooperation between all factions. To her relief, Rodriguez and the other crew members listened with open minds, their scientific curiosity overriding their fear and confusion. "All right," Rodriguez said when she finished. "It's crazy, no crazier than anything else we've seen out here. What do you need us to do?" Arya smiled, grateful for their trust. "We need to get back to the Crystal Spire. There's equipment there that we can use to begin the planet's healing process. But first, we have to make it through the crystal wastes alive." Zinxa approached, its colors rippling with nervous energy. "The journey will not be easy. The wastes are treacherous at night, and the raw nectar makes it difficult to use our long-range transportation technology." "Then we do it the old-fashioned way," Arya declared, "on foot as a team." They set out across the twisted landscape, an unlikely alliance of humans, Zephyrians, and reformed Shadowed Ones. Arya took point, her nectar-enhanced senses alert for any sign of danger. Captain Rodriguez and the other crew members formed a protective circle around the less combat-ready scientists and engineers. As they traversed a field of razor-sharp crystal formations, a low rumbling filled the air. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble. "Earthquake," one of the crew members asked nervously. Zinx's colors paled. "Worse, crystal worm." The earth erupted before them as a massive, segmented creature burst from the ground. Its body was a nightmarish fusion of crystalline armor and pulsing flesh, easily the size of a subway train. Multiple rows of glowing eyes fixed on the group, and a maw lined with jagged crystal teeth opened wide. "Scatter," Arya shouted, diving to the side as the crystal worm lunged forward. The group broke apart, seeking shelter among the larger crystal formations. Arya's mind raced, trying to find a way to defeat the monstrous creature without risking her companions. Suddenly, inspiration struck. She reached out with her mind, drawing on her connection to the Nectar and Zephyria itself. "Everyone, focus on the worm," she called out. "Think of peace, of balance. Project it with all your might." The Zephyrians and Shadowed Ones immediately understood, their mental energies joining with Arya's. Even the human crew members, lacking psychic abilities but possessing strong wills, concentrated fiercely. A wave of calming energy washed over the crystal worm. It paused in its attack, confusion evident in its many eyes. Slowly, impossibly, the creature began to shrink. Its crystalline armor softened, and its flesh became less monstrous. Within minutes, what had once been a terrifying behemoth was now merely a large, iridescent earthworm. It regarded the group with significantly less hostility before burrowing back into the ground. Holy shit, Captain Rodriguez breathed. Did we just talk down a giant monster worm with our minds? Arya couldn't help but laugh, the tension of the moment breaking. Welcome to Zephyria, Captain, where the local wildlife responds well to positive thinking. As they continued their journey, more challenges arose. Fields of carnivorous crystal flowers that Arya's team had to carefully navigate. Swarms of tiny, razor-winged insects that the Shattered Ones dispersed with pulses of raw nectar energy. A chasm of swirling, gravity-defying nectar that Zinxa and the other Zephyrians helped them cross using their innate connection to the substance. Each obstacle forced the disparate group to work together, to trust one another. Slowly but surely, barriers began to break down. Humans and aliens alike shared stories, jokes, and dreams as they trekked across the hostile landscape. As they neared the edge of the crystal wastes, Arya felt a shift in the air. The constant background hum of raw nectar faded, replaced by a more refined, purposeful energy. They were approaching civilization again. But their relief was short-lived. As they crested a final ridge, the glittering spires of the Zephyrian city came into view, along with an army of harvesters laying siege to its crystalline walls. No, Zinxa whispered, its colors dimming in horror. We're too late. The harvesters have launched a full-scale attack. Arya's mind raced, assessing the situation. The city's defenses were holding for now, but it was clear they were weakening. If the harvesters breached the walls, it would be a massacre. We need to get inside, Arya declared. The equipment we need to start healing the planet is in there, and we have to help defend the city. Captain Rodriguez quirked an eyebrow. Not to state the obvious, Chen, but there's a small problem of the monster army between us and the front door. Arya's eyes gleamed with determination. Then we make our own door. Zinxa, you said the spire has secret underground entrances, right? For emergencies? The alien nodded. Yes, but the nearest one is 1/2 kilometer away, through the thick of the harvester forces. Then that's where we're going, Arya said firmly. She turned to address the entire group. Listen up. We've come too far to give up now. Everything we've learned, every challenge we've overcome, has led to this moment. We're going to break through those harvester lines, get into the city, and save this planet. Who's with me? A chorus of determined voices, human, Zephyrian, and Shattered One alike, answered her call. As one unified force, they began to make their way down the ridge towards the besieged city. Arya led the charge, channeling the power of the nectar to create a shimmering energy shield around the group. Captain Rodriguez and the other human crew members provided covering fire with their advanced weaponry. The Zephyrians used their mental abilities to confuse and misdirect the harvesters, while the Shattered Ones unleashed controlled bursts of raw nectar energy to clear a path. Inch by hard-fought inch, they advanced towards the hidden entrance. Harvesters fell before their combined might, the creatures seemingly confused by the unprecedented alliance they faced. As they neared their goal, a particularly massive harvester, easily twice the size of the others, rose up before them, its crystalline limbs gleaming wickedly in the starlight. Arya stepped forward, her body glowing with nectar energy. Enough, she shouted, her voice echoing with power. This ends now. You are part of Zephyria, not its destroyers. Remember your true purpose. For a moment, the giant harvester hesitated. Then, with a sound like shattering glass, it began to change. Its monstrous form shifted, becoming more refined, more purposeful. When the transformation was complete, a new being stood before them, not quite Zephyrian, not quite harvester, but something in between. We remember, the creature said, its voice a melodious hum. We were meant to maintain balance, not destroy. With the converted harvester now aiding them, Arya and her team finally reached the hidden entrance. As they disappeared into the safety of the underground tunnel, Arya allowed herself a moment of hope. They had made it this far against impossible odds. Now, the real work of saving Zephyria, and changing the future of two worlds could begin. Triumph of humanity. The hidden tunnel led Aria and her diverse team deep beneath the crystal spire. As they emerged into the heart of the Zephyrian stronghold, they were met with a scene of controlled chaos. Zephyrians rushed to and fro, coordinating defense efforts and tending to the wounded. Elder Xylos, the leader of the Zephyrian Council, approached them with obvious relief. Aria Chen, you've returned, and with unexpected company. The elder's gaze swept over the humans, shadowed ones, and the transformed harvester with a mix of hope and trepidation. Aria stepped forward, her voice ringing with authority. Elder Xylos, we don't have much time. I know the truth about the Nectar, about Zephyria's balance. We have a plan to save your world, but we'll need everyone's cooperation. As succinctly as possible, Aria outlined what she had learned and what needed to be done. The elder listened intently, their crystalline features shifting from skepticism to understanding, and finally, to resolute determination. What you propose is radical, Aria Chen, Xylos said at last. But I sense the truth in your words. What do you need from us? Aria turned to her team. Captain Rodriguez, I need you and our engineers to work with the Zephyrians. Modify their defense systems to emit a frequency that will help calm and redirect the harvesters rather than destroy them. Rodriguez nodded sharply. Consider it done. Zinixer, you and the other Zephyrians focus on establishing a stronger psychic link with the planet itself. Try to communicate our intentions, our desire for balance. The aliens' colors rippled with determination. We will not fail you, Aria. Shadowed ones. Aria continued, addressing the reformed faction. Your connection to raw nectar is crucial. I need you to go to the planetary core and begin the process of redistributing the nectar more evenly throughout Zephyria's systems. The lead shadowed one bowed its misshapen head. We will right the wrongs of our past. Finally, Aria turned to the transformed harvester. You represent the bridge between two states of being. Reach out to your brethren. Help them remember their true purpose. As her allies dispersed to their tasks, Aria faced Elder Xylos. Take me to the Nexus Chamber. It's time to rewrite the future of Zephyria. The Nexus Chamber was a marvel of alien architecture, a vast spherical room at the very heart of the crystal spire. At its center floated a pulsing orb of pure nectar energy, the control center for all of Zephyria's systems. Aria approached the orb, feeling the power emanating from it. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of an entire world. Are you certain about this, Aria Chen? Elder Xylos asked, concern evident in their voice. The process could kill you. Aria managed a small smile. Sometimes we have to take risks for the greater good. With those words, she plunged her hands into the orb of nectar. Pain unlike anything she had ever experienced coursed through her body. Aria screamed, her mind overwhelmed by the raw power and alien consciousness of Zephyria itself. But she held on, drawing on every ounce of her human determination and the unique perspective her earthly origins provided. Images flashed through her mind: the birth of Zephyria, the rise and fall of civilizations, the delicate dance of ecology and technology. Aria saw it all, understood it all, and with that understanding came the power to change it. With Herculean effort, Aria began to reshape Zephyria's systems. She redirected the flow of nectar, balancing its distribution across the planet. She rewrote the genetic code of the harvesters, returning them to their original purpose as caretakers rather than destroyers. She established new symbiotic relationships between the crystal flora, fauna, and sentient species. Outside the spire, the effects were immediate and dramatic. The attacking harvesters stopped in their tracks, their forms shifting and changing as they remembered their true nature. The very landscape began to heal, the corrupted areas of the crystal wastes transforming into vibrant, balanced ecosystems. Inside the Nexus Chamber, Aria's body glowed with blinding light as she channeled more power than any human had ever wielded. Elder Hylos and the others who had gathered to witness the event shielded their eyes, awe and fear warring on their alien features. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, Aria withdrew her hands from the Nectar orb. She staggered, nearly collapsing, but Captain Rodriguez was there to catch her. "Easy there, Chen," he said, his gruff voice tinged with concern and admiration. "You just rewrote the laws of nature on an alien planet. Take a breather." As Aria's vision cleared, she saw the results of her work. The Nexus orb pulsed with a new, harmonious energy. The walls of the chamber reflected scenes from across Zephyria, healed landscapes, reformed harvesters working alongside Zephyrians, shadowed ones using their unique abilities to maintain the planet's balance. Elder Asilos approached, bowing deeply. "Aria Chen of Earth, you have saved our world and shown us a new path forward. How can we ever repay you?" Aria stood on shaky legs, leaning on Rodriguez for support. "By remembering the lessons we've learned here, by striving for balance and understanding, not just with your own world, but with others." She turned to face her human crew members. "And that goes for us too. We came here seeking knowledge and resources. We found so much more, a chance to be part of something greater than ourselves." In the days that followed, as Zephyria healed and its society restructured itself, Aria and her team prepared for their return to Earth. They had a monumental task ahead, introducing humanity to the wonders and challenges of a wider galaxy. As Aria stood at the entrance to their repaired ship, taking one last look at the glittering crystal spire, Zinexel approached. "Will you return to us someday, Aria Chen?" the alien asked, its colors shifting with emotion. Aria smiled, placing a hand on Zinex's shoulder. "Count on it. This is just the beginning of the journey for both our peoples." She turned and entered the ship, determination filling her heart. Humanity had triumphed on Zephyria not through force or technological superiority, but through compassion, adaptability, and the willingness to bridge divides. As they broke atmosphere and set a course for Earth, Aria knew that those same qualities would guide humanity to its true place among the stars. The ship disappeared into the depths of space, leaving behind a changed world and carrying with it the promise of a brighter future for two civilizations. The legacy of Aria Chen and her crew would echo through the cosmos for generations to come, a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity and the power of understanding between worlds.